Melissa, what would shock everyone about the produce in America?
I think a lot of people don't even know where their produce comes from. They don't realize that it's not from a local farmer or from somebody that's really close to them. It's grown, 60% of our lettuce is grown in California, about an hour from San Francisco. And I think the second thing that would shock them is also how much produce is left in the fields. 30% of produce is grown and left in the fields because it's not the right size for the grocery store or the food service industry. To just give you a number, that's 400 million pounds of strawberries that are left in the fields every year in the USA because they're just not the right size, not because they don't taste good.
So when there's food shortages in certain areas and you have all this produce left over, why are we not connecting those two things?
So that's like really what started this whole thing for me. I was on the floor during the pandemic trying to figure out what I'm doing in my bathroom, writing a mom's group. And somebody outraged me just because they said, I don't understand. There's all this excess. There's pictures of, milk being spilled into the rivers and onions being torn under. Why can't we take that and bring it to the food banks? And the answer is the supply chain. It's how does it get out of the fields and moved to places that need access? And because that supply chain just doesn't exist in a way that is coherent and needs to be rebuilt, it just can't move that easily from what is left to being able to get to the people that need it most.
And this may be a ignorant comment, but I'm assuming when you say it's not the right size for the grocery chains, is that the buyers looking and saying this doesn't look right and we know the consumer won't buy it because they're looking for something that looks bigger or more robust or whatever, and so they don't purchase it because they can't move it? Is that what the reason is?
Yeah, it goes a little deeper. So the farmers actually don't even pick it. So when they're picking strawberries, they are having the pickers in the field and they're picking and they're deciding, and they know if it's going to fit because they have the exact sizes that the grocery store wants. It has to fit a certain amount of strawberries in 1 pound of a pack. And so they won't pick it. They'll either pick it and they throw it right down into the ground, or on some products, they literally leave it on the tree, like a cherry, because it's just not the right size. So if it's a little big or a little small, it has no way of leaving the field to be a part of the fresh market.
Why do you think that, I do this, I don't know if everyone does this, that people romanticize that our crops are grown by farmers and it's this whimsical, magical, if you could see what's in my head, it's so romantic, and it sounds like it's nothing like that. Why do we have that perception?
Well, I love that you have that perception, because one of the biggest things I hear from farmers all the time is that they don't feel like appreciated or that people really value what they do to bring food into this world. And so I love that that's what you think. And that's part of what we want to do, is tell the stories of the farmers, tell the stories of the generations that are bringing in this product. It's hard for farmers to even get the next generation to want to be a part of it. So I think people think about small farmers, like 1 acre, but the farmers that are really making a lot of this, they can be 1 to 5 acres of farmers, but they're also people that have 300 acres to 3,000 acres, and they're growing this in it's backed by private equity, and it's backed by venture capital, and it's a business. It's a commodity business that's growing this product. And so I don't know that people have been there. If you have been on a farm that's a large scale farm, you'll see these crews that come in and the labor and all that, but it's a big business, and it travels, depending on the time of year, down the coast of California to Arizona, and from Florida up the East Coast. And then in the summer, you're getting a lot of stuff grown throughout the country for your more local tomatoes and squashes and stuff of that nature.
When you yourself, knowing everything that you know about produce, go grocery shopping, what is your mentality? How do you grocery shop?
I grocery shop. One of my favorite things to do, and I love teaching my kids about this too, is like bananas, for example. I'll buy stages of bananas. So I'll buy like 3 or 4 or 1. We eat a lot of bananas in my house. One that's like green, one that's a little yellow, and then one that's like almost turning. And so those are called stages of bananas. I try to buy produce for when I'm going to eat it so that I don't overbuy for my own home. That's where I think a lot of people think about excess or extra, is like what you buy in your home. But for me, where the blue ocean opportunity is what's on the farms and how we can change the consumer's idea of buying this product that might not look perfect, or they're not exactly the same sizes, kind of more like the European markets, where you'll go in and you see that they're a little bit of different sizes. And that would be such a big change if the consumers pushed for products that were taste delicious, look delicious, but maybe weren't uniform in size.
Am I weird to think that I want a Charlie Brown like apple and a Charlie Brown tree like strawberry. I don't want the perfect one because the perfect one looks like it was genetically modified. Like when I get this huge blueberry that's bigger than my hand, I don't want that. I want the one that's kind of a Charlie Brown tree.
I think you're unique.
Oh,
I think there are...
No, people don't want that.
I think people want, if they're looking at their strawberries, they're looking for those big ones that are perfectly red and look like sweet. They're not looking for the ones that are smaller and bigger and all different mixed sizes within the pack. I think if they look at that, they'd be like, this is super ununiformed and what happened here? And they would ask more of those kind of questions.
Is this as big of a problem in Europe? You mentioned Europe, and is there as much waste over there, or do they use more of the vegetables and produce there?
It's a global problem, for sure. But every country has their own unique. And like we're working on a tool, the World Wildlife Fund Global Loss Tool, and that's able to measure throughout the world. But for us, one of the biggest core tenets that we're trying to infect is like, how do we bring more products back to the U.S.? So for example, peaches. A lot of peaches that are brought in that are canned and frozen are brought in from Spain and Greece.
If you could raise a wand and just say, I want everything to be like this tomorrow with the produce industry, what would be your goals for that?
My perfect world would be a little bit more like Australia. They have this thing called the Odd Bunch that's in the grocery stores where they have a section of the grocery store that has a table that allows for, based on what's happening, because this is all product that's growing from the time and picked and it's changing constantly within the marketplace, that could house on this table what's available in excess at that moment. If there's a big surge in potatoes that are being grown or apples or strawberries, how can we bring that so that the American consumer, just like if they want organic or just like if they want fair trade, would come in and go to those tables first, see what's available, what's excess, see what's delicious and tasted and have, all the sampling and start buying with increasing the price access for people, but that would be available there. And they could decide that week, okay, I'm going to use squash because it's an excess in my dinner this week, or I'm going to use a zucchini because it's on that excess table. And so I want a world in which this excess produce just becomes part of like the tradition of the American buyer, that they don't think about it as much as like what is conventional and what had the specs that have been, out there already.
So we got introduced through Ivanka Trump, of all people, who we really admire. And we were hanging out down in Miami and she said, hey, you got to talk, because she's a co-founder. And I wonder, how did you guys even get into business in the first place? And what were you doing before?
Sure. So I ran one of the largest produce management and produce transportation companies. What does that mean? We bought the produce that went to large restaurants like Panera, Starbucks, Jamba Juice, Buffalo Wild Wings, different wings companies, and hospitals and schools. And we, in that time, right before the pandemic, we had just tried to decide, okay, where is our path going? The pandemic hit, and overnight, our customers all shut their doors. And I had one note next to me, was save the supply chain, because it was family businesses, these distributors across the countries and farmers that were growing specifically for restaurants, and they had nowhere to bring their products. So as I mentioned, it was the first time that I think a lot of Americans were exposed to excess in the supply chain. They saw the milk being dumped and the carrots being put back into the ground, and they were like, why? Where do we go with this? So there was a program that Ivanka actually championed and led for the government called the Farmers to Family Food Box Program, the USDA's program. That program was a $6 billion program that was part of the Trump administration, then carried over into the Biden administration and sunsetted when the COVID funds ended. And I held one of the larger contracts, and we made these boxes. And in these boxes, there was produce, there was protein, there was dairy, there was cheese. And we connected the farmers, the businesses, to 501c charity organizations. So my company in 4 months moved 9.2 million boxes. And we did these big events where we handed them out. And so Ivanka would come to those events because she was leading it and overseeing it. And I got the opportunity to meet with her and talk to her. And we bonded over the idea that, like, yes, there's all this excess and there's all this need, but this is not just a pandemic program. This is a program that really, a problem that exists throughout the ages that we've, the modern ages. And so she really, I think, fell in love with the farmers and the stories and the availability to really make massive change. And that's where we met, and we started this idea of how do we turn this either into a nonprofit or to a business. And we decided to turn it into an impact business.
She's a very curious person. And I think, we had her on the show, and what I personally think about her as it relates to when she was in the administration is I don't think she gets enough credit for a lot of the things like this that she was doing. There's all the big media headlines and the political biases that people have, but as it relates to her, there was a lot of things that I think were like straight down the line and just beneficial for the country and people in general that I just don't think there's enough awareness around her with that stuff, right? Like she doesn't get as much accolade as I think she should for that kind of stuff.
100%. I mean, this program, you could ask distributors, produce distributors. So just because I don't know that everyone knows what that means, it's like a large Costco warehouse, if you've been there, where there's just all different types of fruits and vegetables, sometimes dairy. And you don't bring a whole truckload of produce from California to the back of a Jamba Juice. Mm-hmm. You have to have a distributor that's able to pick a box of this and a box of that and then make an order to send it over to the distributor, to the back of a restaurant. These distributors, companies were saved because of this Farmers to Family Food Box program. They had nowhere to be able to do the business. And I mean, I've had companies literally to this day thank that program for saving them.
And that gone under without
they had nowhere. The restaurants were closed. I mean, they were closed for, as you all remember, for so long. I mean, some restaurants did really well, like the quick service restaurants, but the big white tablecloth and the big mop, like the bigger restaurants weren't in business. Schools weren't in business. Airports were in business. And so these growers that grow for that, along with the distributors that service them, along with the trucking companies that service them, they had nowhere to do their business. And so this program by the USDA that Ivanka really shepherded and brought forward was life-saving to them.
I also think people don't realize what amazing businesswoman she is. Are there some tips that she has shared with you that you've learned throughout working with her?
Yeah, she's quite frankly amazing. So I ran this business and it had, hundreds of employees, a huge P&L, departments. When you start as an entrepreneur and you start at the beginning, it's a different game. So her advice and her ability to help me stay focused and really keep on the topics that we were trying to do were amazing. On top of the fact that I just think her vision and her visionary sense to think so much bigger and to be able to help is just something that people maybe know about her, but I can speak from how she built this business with me, that she thinks about things. I might think about hitting 10 cities and she's thinking about hitting 200 cities within a year. She just wants something that scales. I think the other thing that sits with me the most is that when we talk about our monthly meetings, and anyone that runs a business knows you look at your forecasting, you look at your budgeting, that's important to her. But what's most important to her is who are we impacting? How many farmers are we impacting? How many pounds are we bringing into the system? And how many people are we putting fresh fruits and vegetables? And those impact numbers are what drive her. And to me, there's no better partner and co-founder that makes you think big, dream big, and then act big. I think those are big deals. Ultimately, we just want to do good. We just want to help make change. We want this to be scalable. We want this to last generations. I mean, I can tell you guys several tables I've sat at with people who have been in the produce industry for 20 years. Unfortunately, they were all males. And they said to me, this can't be done. You're not going to be able to change this produce supply chain. You should go back and be with your kids, and you should go back and run your household. And I love a challenge. And I'm like, we will make this happen. And this is something that we can work. I mean, I can't tell you the amount of farmers I've been on farms with where there's an image of me sitting in the middle of a cherry grove with all these farmers around me, tears in their eyes, being like, we have a fifth generation farm that we need to figure out what to do. We need to sell all of the product that we have so that we can become economically, positive, so we can keep this going from generation to generation. So there's a need and there's a want.
What a better team than you and Ivanka Trump. I cannot think of a better team to do this.
Yeah, it's been amazing.
What is the risk to the public and the population if these supply chains and farms start to fail over time? I think, again, you're talking about people not being aware of where their food comes from. And I think we take for granted that we can just walk into a store and there's this abundance of things on our shelves. In other countries and places in the world, it's not always like that. What are some of the things that maybe the public's just unaware of when it comes to the dangers of having these things disrupted?
I think the disruption is, how much is in America? Like, I think that that's part of it. Like, we talk about local, but local can be, 100 miles to 250 miles if you think about how big a state is and stuff like that. So I think it's how much is coming in from other countries. Again, this is a global issue. And if we're trying to do things with greenhouse gases and water emissions, like we need this on a global scale. But for us, it's like helping the American farmer first. So I think that's the first thing. The second thing is with the supply. We all could agree that food is medicine and food should be what is helping cure a lot of these issues. So like we want to have as many options as possible. If we have certain farmers that can't produce that food, then you're not going to have those products in the supply chain to be able to eat and to be able to use as what you are helping your body, your children, those flavors, all of those things. So I think if we can use all of it, it just gives more access to people and it gives more options to people and it keeps things close to home, which I think is super important.
And why are they at risk of potentially not being able to produce anymore? You mentioned earlier, like maybe the generations following these farmers aren't going into farming as often, or supply chain issues or waste. Like what would be the reasons they would stop producing?
If they can't afford it. If they can't afford to pick the product. So that's another really big reason why it's not picked. It's like if it costs more for them to pick it, pack it, and ship it than it would to leave it on the ground, that's what they're going to do. And they don't want to. They've already put in the water. They've already put in the labor. They've already put in all of those things. But ultimately, if it doesn't make sense financially, they are businesses after all.
Would you buy every single thing on the shelf? Is there anything that you're never touching with a 10-foot pole?
Of fresh produce?
Yes.
I'm buying it all.
You're buying it all?
Yeah.
I'm just wanting to know if you're like, oh, this one is like really nasty. There's nothing.
There's nothing. I love fresh fruits and vegetables. I think that they are delicious. I'm trying to think if there's one that I would stay away from because of my own preferences. I love trying different things, new things, the introductions of things. Yeah, I love all of the different fruits and vegetables.
Do you know why they have those little numbers on the stickers on the produce?
Yeah, so the PLUs.
Yeah.
So that helps to track and trace where it's from. So you can find out like where it was shipped from. So the biggest thing for a fresh produce industry is to be able to find where like the place before it came so that you're able to figure out exactly what products and what farm it came from if there's ever an issue that they need to be able to pull something from the shelf.
You are a mom of 3 boys.
I am.
How are you balancing everything you're doing? You have all these amazing headlines with Ivanka. You guys are everywhere. How are you balancing that with 3 boys?
An amazing team at home, and the organization, I think, is super important. For me and my family, on Sunday nights, we have a meeting. We use an old-time Word document with a different chart with every person's name, what we're going to eat for the week, any tasks that have to be done, even for the pets. And we organize and we divide and conquer. My husband's an orthopedic surgeon, so he's busy too, and he's out there fixing knees and hips. But I think ultimately, I love when my kids are asked, what is it that your mom does? And she says, like, she fights to help farmers and bring food to your table. And they're with me. They're with me when we do these events and hand out boxes to fresh fruits and vegetables to people. They're there packing them. They're there going to the farms and seeing where it's all built. So it's being present at the moment where you are. It's about, you can't be in 2 places at once, so I don't pretend to be.
That's a hard one.
And putting my head 100% into what I'm doing and trusting that what I've built at home with preparation and a good team can help there.
How do you think about leadership?
I think about leadership as, bringing people around me that I think could be the next step in the leadership process. I have an incredible team right now of all women, and it's been amazing. Actually, I have a few men, but not on the day-to-day stuff that I'm working on. And it's just incredible to bring passionate people that are skilled in their area and letting them and trusting them to be able to accomplish what they can accomplish.
If you could tell our audience one thing and you could have them take away one thing from this episode about produce, what would it be?
Eat produce, love produce, ask for produce, and stop only eating with your eyes. Think about when you see something that might be a little big or small, think about where it came from and the route it took to get there.
So
and
don't be
appreciate
so
it.
superficial when it comes to produce.
Totally.
You know?
Totally.
Don't be so vapid about it.
I mean, think about it like, a Dove commercial. It's like all bodies are beautiful. All produce is beautiful. How can we support farmers by asking that we get more of that harvest, that full harvest approach, that whole harvest, so that we can help the farmers and we can enjoy nutrient-dense, delicious food.
All right, something that's so nostalgic to me and old school social media is how I started with LTK. If you are looking to shop my entire life, my closet, my medicine cabinet, my vitamins, my supplements, my kids' favorites, my books, I literally have everything so organized for you guys of exactly what I use on LTK. If you're unfamiliar with LTK, it really is everything that is organized and shoppable in one place. Everything is tagged, saved, and searchable. So instead of screenshotting and getting all these lost links, you can go back and easily find the exact same thing you saw me from. Yes, I put exactly what I'm wearing, but I also put dupes. I also put other options. So you really have carte blanche to just sort of shop my life. You can also shop other creators' life. So it's not just me. The Skinny Confidential, too, if you're an influencer or creator or an entrepreneur, is a brand on LTK. So you can go on and link our ice roller or our brow peptide or our mouth tape and make commissions through LTK. So if you want to go on and check out the brand profile, it's under the Skinny Confidential, and we feature creators who talk about and use the products all the time, which really turns LTK into a key discovery. This is free too, you guys. It's all free. If you're a brand, this changes your entire year. So LTK built a brand new influencer marketing program, and it's like 5 platforms in one, from discovery, social listing, gifting, messaging, campaign tracking. It's all there, and it's all free with radical data transparency. I really like that. I'm a huge fan of the brand, so much so that I've actually had the founder, Amber, on our show. You could pick and choose a bunch of different creators to follow. You can follow all your favorites and shop their life. So go check out the Skinny Confidential products. Check me out under Lauren Bostic on LTK, and you'll get a curated branded experience. If you're a brand or a founder, get on the LTK brand demo list to see it for yourself. Sign up here, shopltk.com/skinny, and see the platform in action. That's shopltk.com/skinny. Let me tell you what I just got on the Real. It is so good, okay? I have been looking for the Row. It's like this jacket that's flannel. It's super baby blue. It's plaid. It's just gorgeous. And I could not find it anywhere. I was looking everywhere. And finally, I found it on the Real. And the price was right, and it was authenticated. And I was obsessed that I sourced it there. And I was so excited to tell you guys about it. It's so beautiful. I'll post it on Instagram stories. It's like this thin coat. I don't even know if it's a coat, but it goes under the knee. It's got a collar, and it's checkered and plaid and just gorgeous. And it'll go with everything. I am so happy. And I could not have gotten this without the Real. The Real is the go-to place for your next special piece. If you're looking for pieces from the brands you love, like Gucci, Fendi, The Row, Prada, Tiffany's, everywhere, they have it. And so many of their pieces are up to 90% off retail. When I shop on there, I'm just blown away. I also sell a lot of my clothes on the Real, so you could also use it to sell. And when you sell with the Real, they literally do everything for you. It's so nice. From photography to copywriting to shipping to pricing to customer service, it's like a one-stop shop. You can sit back and get paid. With over 40 million fashion lovers on the Real, your items will sell fast. Mine have. It's been awesome. Resale is what they do, so you have time to do you. The Real is the most trusted name in authenticated luxury resale. With over 10,000 new arrivals daily, no one does resale like the Real. Get $25 off your first purchase when you go to therealreal.com/skinny. That's therealreal.com/skinny to get $25 off. Start shopping now at therealreal.com/skinny. Fun fact about me, I am a huge heirloom scrapbook person. I have time boxes for each of my kids in their rooms. I have scrapbooks laid out everywhere. I even am trying to convince Michael to make me take a closet in our house and make it a scrapbook room. I love scrapbooking. And so this shouldn't surprise you that I am obsessed with Legacy Box, okay? So hooked on this. My closet was overflowing with home videos. My dad gave me a bunch of old home videos and photos that had never seen the light of day, and I wanted to do something about it. So what I did was I got Legacy Box, and I was able to find a solution for preserving our past. And now I feel like I'm organized. My memories, I want to be instantly accessible, not hidden away in like outdated formats, especially for my kids. With Legacy Box, you can stream, organize, and share your digitalized videos and photos effortlessly. So to me, this feels like an extension of the Time Box, an extension of the scrapbook. It feels like something that's more efficient than that, and it really saves time. It's so simple. It's like magic, you guys. So what you do is you send in your Legacy Box filled with old VHS tapes, camcorder tapes, pictures, and then their team professionally makes everything digital by hand in the US. And you get it all back on the cloud plus your originals. It is seriously one of the most efficient things. If you're someone who's nostalgic and you like to keep all these mementos all organized, especially for your kids and for you. Check protecting your memories off your spring cleaning to-do list with Legacy Box. Visit legacybox.com/skinny to shop their $9 tape sale. That's legacybox.com/skinny to unlock this incredible offer.
What is the response from the farmers now with you, now that you guys have gotten this project underway?
It's amazing. Like the phone calls and the meetings that we can have where people believe in it, where we get to hear their stories, where they bring in their trade associations and all the different people from big to small size farmers. And they're like, you really think you can do this? I mean, we had the CEO of Chobani in the fields with us. That's one of our partners in our projects. And he was stepping over the rows. His hands were in the strawberries. He was holding, he's like, this is going to be discarded. This is going to be discarded. How is that possible? This is beautiful. So I think seeing it firsthand and having, he's calling for others to join us in this change of trying to ask for all of the produce, asking for excess and bringing back American buying. So when I get to see people like that I find incredible leaders, incredible CEOs that have visions, it's exciting that I think we're on the right track. And it's something that I think the consumers, once they learn more about it, it's in that bucket of sustainability. It's in that bucket of healthy eating. It's a win all across the board.
So if you guys are able to kind of get rid of the waste, what are you then going to do with that excess? Is it for charities? Is it to feed people? Is it to put in shelves? What happens?
Where's it go?
Yeah, where's it go?
So for example, the bottom of the fruit, what you have on the Chobani yogurt, like that's a project that we're working on. We create these food boxes, which ultimately are either going for impact work into communities that need it, or in food as medicine boxes. So there's a movement to be able to use food as a way to treat any like diabetes, hypertension, high-risk pregnancies. We create these boxes that can include the excess produce. They have in them, we partner with Thrive Ariana Huffington's company, so that we have that data, the science behind it to say what kind of recipes, what kind of products should be in it for each of these different ailments. And then we have the products delivered directly to patients' doors. And then the doctors look back at it and see what are the numbers and the things that are changing from having access to fresh fruits and vegetables. So I think there's a big movement out there to eat healthier, and it's how do we get the products, to food insecure areas that don't have access to fresh fruits and vegetables.
Yeah, because I think like the average American, if I was, listening or watching this show, we see headlines all the time about, people struggling to put food on the table if the economy's down or whatever. In other places in the world, people not having access to certain food. And then now you're hearing there's a ton of food here that is just sitting and being wasted, while at the same time, and again, like I'm an entrepreneur, so I start to think, well, there's all these programs that are setting people up to go and buy maybe things that are not nutritious and not healthy, but we have all this great nutrition that comes from the earth sitting over here. So like, why is that not?
So there are some government programs like Section 32, which will buy if there's a huge amount of extras. But again, the specs that are there are usually, and I could be wrong on this, US #1 grade. So again, it's like, how do we change the grading system to allow for more of this product to get into schools, and I think that ultimately that's something that hopefully will happen over time, but nothing that we're working on directly with the government.
Yeah, I mean, like we'll go sometimes, Lauren and I will go to our kids' school for lunch, and we pack our lunch, and mostly because some of the foods that they're serving in these schools, like, is not the most nutritious meals. And when I start to hear this, I'm like, why is some of this fruit and vegetables and produce not in the food? You know what I mean? So
exactly.
That it's just, I think it's kind of like, it's probably much more difficult than I'm describing it, and that's the world that you're in. But from when I hear it, it's like common sense. Like, well, we have this food and supply chain. Like, why is that not here?
Yeah.
Providing nutrition
the
to our
grading
kids?
has to change, the specs have to change, and the allowance and tolerance has to change. And then, I mean, it's innovation. Like, we're working with an incredible lettuce grower right now that makes those bag pack lettuces that you buy, and we're thinking about new ways to use broccoli leaves. Like, you take the broccoli off the stalk, but then you leave all the leaves in the field. How can we use that as, like, you know, with the right dressings, it would be like a kale, a little bitter, but really nutrient dense. How do we continue to expand on what push the boundaries of what's popular within the diets of the American people?
In researching for this podcast, we text Ivanka, and she wrote back a very, very thoughtful response. And so I was going to hit some of the points and see how you felt about what she said. Something that she brought up was, and I want to know, how come no one has found a solution for this? Why is this the first moment that this is happening?
I asked myself the same question. I think that there was so much momentum on just getting the right product to the shelf and getting people to purchase that there was no one that was really connecting the dots.
Right.
I think we sit in a really, really, like you said, amazing place where Ivanka knows so many people, and I have a long history in the produce industry to be able to talk about this and bring this together. Feeding America, for example, does do a little bit of this, which is the largest, food banking network. So they do something where they buy from growers that have excess. But even with what they're doing, there's so much more out there and so much opportunity to be able to do more.
Give us a detailed impact of what this has done to the livelihood of the farmers. You mentioned earlier there was a lot of emotion in the fields. Give us some examples of that.
Yeah. So again, we met with in the fields, Ivanka, myself, and Hamdi met with these strawberry growers that had 3 generations with them standing in the fields, and just talked about, we kept asking why. Why do you leave this here? Help us understand. And it all came down to they are not paid enough money to make sure that it comes out, that they need to make 10 cents more, 5 cents more, whatever it is, to make sure that it can come out of the fields. And when we talked about what we're thinking about, we talked about long-term contracts. We talked about the idea that we would be able to put a 3-year contract in place that we would guarantee the purchasing of this product and hopefully their whole harvest, their number one product too. They were just like tears in their eyes. They talked about how amazing it was and how, they've never had anybody. That was the other big thing. Nobody asked them. Nobody asked them why. And this goes back to the respect and the goodness that we want from our farmers. They don't ask them for their stories and how they get there. So there's so much pain, sweat, tears, and unbelievable labor from our American farmers. And I think they feel respected. Having her out in the fields, having Hamdi out in the fields and asking why goes along with that storytelling of this beautiful product that should make its way out of those farm gates.
Tell us about the World Wildlife Fund.
Yeah. So as I mentioned, the World Wildlife Fund, we're working with one of their tools to be able to measure the product that's left in the field. How much extra product is there available?
So you'll be able to actually measure exact.
And then figure out what we can do to target with it. We worked on a pilot program with them already where we took strawberries. Right now in the U.S. market, there's only a number 1 strawberry. So there's no number 2 fresh strawberry that people sell. So we worked with different organizations like Stanford's Cafe, Google's Cafe, different places in California where the chefs were able to taste and try these products that wouldn't have made it to the number 1 market, but could make it to the number 2. And they were trying to figure out interesting ways to use it for fruit salads, smoothies, desserts, cut it, chop it, do different things with it, and keep it fresh. We can pay our farmers the most when we keep the products fresh. So we were trying to figure that out. So through that partnership and through working with different distributors and different food service companies, we were able to test this, and the chefs loved it. So now it's a matter of how do you make it mainstream and how do you push it so that you can use more of the non-perfect stuff within cafeterias and different restaurants throughout the country.
What is one of the main reasons that these farmers are starting to not be able to afford to either ship or pick or produce these products or these?
It's all the different input costs of, water, you can imagine, labor. It's the competition, again, from other countries where they either have subsidies from their government to be able to move the product. It's less money for labor in those countries, and it's less for all different inputs. So it's the competition internationally. It's the the just the sheer amount of volume that's being grown. I mean, you would think right now, and I believe that with GLP-1s and the entire movement, people want healthier choices. And I think we'll start seeing, as the data comes out, people are going to start eating more fresh fruits and vegetables along with protein, fiber, all those things. So we just, as that movement continues to happen, I think that the fruits and vegetables are going to see their day.
Well, like we were former California residents. We live out here, grew up in California. But when I hear 80% of the lettuce is grown in California, and again, being an employer, understanding the cost to do business over there now, I worry because I'm like, if 80% of the lettuce is concentrated there and it becomes too expensive for these farmers to produce there, what happens then if it just becomes unsustainable to run that business? Right? Like if I was running that lettuce business and all of a sudden I couldn't make money running it and 80% of the world's supplies there, like, is that a vulnerability that people need to be aware of or think about?
Yeah, I mean, it's when they grow the lettuce, it's like around 60%. So 60% of lettuce, and it grows in Salinas, California, and then it moves to the desert, and then it moves to Arizona. And as things happen and it gets pulled, that it just won't be on the shelf. I mean, they've tried hydroponics and building inside and then having it, and they're trying to find new microclimates to grow. They'll do it a lot in Mexico as well. But it's a vulnerability, and it's something that like we continue to lobby as an industry to make sure that these input costs stay at a place where we can afford to grow in the U.S. But ultimately, it's called the salad bowl of the world.
Let's quickly talk about Experian and specifically Experian's subscription canceling service. I love Experian. I've used it for over a decade now, mostly for credit monitoring, making sure that I can get my credit in the right place. They have an incredible tool that basically provides you with all the information you need on how to improve your credit and make sure that you're maximizing the most of your credit. Many people are familiar with Experian because of their credit monitoring service, but did you know they also have a subscription cancellation service that is incredible? I talk a lot on this podcast about how important it is to save that extra dollar, reinvest, make sure you're putting more money in your pocket, make sure that you're not working and wasting and spending all that money on things you don't need. And what I love about Experian's platform is they can help put more money back in your pocket so that you can spend on things that you actually care about. And most importantly, make sure that your money's going to places you actually want it to go to. Experian can take the pain out of canceling subscriptions by handling it for you. Just keep the ones you want and put money back in your pocket. This is a no-brainer. Imagine you're sitting there at the end of every month, like many of us do, going through your budget, wondering where the money went, wondering where you can save, trying to make sure that you're able to invest and save for your future. And you realize that you have a bunch of unwanted subscription service fees that are going out the door, wasting your money, taking money directly out of your pocket for things that you're not even using anymore. With Experian's cancellation service, you no longer have to worry about that because it takes care of all of it, puts it in one place, and makes it easy to cancel. They have over 200 subscriptions that are cancelable on the platform, and you can also save money by letting Experian negotiate your best rate. They'll keep an eye out for new deals and savings opportunities and will negotiate directly with your provider. So maybe you've been paying for a subscription and they've offered a new rate since you've signed up and maybe a better deal. Well, Experian can make sure that you get that and take advantage of that deal so that even if you are using a service, you're getting the best possible rate. Again, there's nothing that drives me more crazy knowing that I'm wasting money, that my loved ones are wasting money. It's such a letdown when you see your hard-earned dollars go to places that aren't being used, that can't be beneficial to you. And again, in a time when it's hard to save and every dollar counts. And the best part is you keep 100% of your savings. This is one of my favorite features of Experian's cancellation service. They put 100% of the savings back in your pocket. You could save $631 on average per year. Imagine right now if you just put an extra $631 back in your pocket, what you could do with it, how you could have fun with it, who you could help with it. That's how I like to think about this. It's not only potentially helpful for you, but for your loved ones and people that you care about. Don't just take it from me. Over $25 million has been saved using both bill negotiation and subscription cancellation from Experian. So clearly there's a ton of people saving money and putting it right back into their own pockets because again, you keep 100% of your savings. So again, get started in the Experian app now and save that money, put it right back in your pocket.
Introducing the Skinny Confidential Ice Roller. Reimagined. Think sleeker lines, a softer pink, a custom buttery dust bag, and a silver roller, not pink anymore, that is ice cold. I wanted to do a zhuzh on the iconic ice roller. I wanted to update it. This ice roller for me has always been more than just a tool. It's about helping us depuff and sculpt and calm the skin in a way that feels intentional. And I wanted the ice roller to feel evolved. It's changed. You've changed. So yes, the new gorgeous, stunning, beautiful ice roller is still going to do the same things. It reduces puffiness and redness in your face. I used it this morning before I put on my makeup. It definitely helps with the under eye bags. Of course, it helps boost circulation and radiance. I just feel like it really helps stimulate blood flow and gives me that tighter, more radiant skin. And then it also is known to give you a smoother, tighter looking skin. So what I like to do is I like to combine facial massage with cold therapy. And this really helps give you a really nice foundation before you even apply your skincare. This ice roller for me is a full circle moment. I think that a lot of you bought the ice roller 5-6 years ago when we launched it. And now I am launching something that feels more in alignment with where you're at. It's so beautiful, you guys. Like, it's just softer and more effortless in every way. And I really put my own touches on every single little step, from the packaging to the colors to how it feels to even the roller. It's all been elevated just for you. So the Lauren ritual is you do cold therapy to help fight inflammation. You roll it, you glide it across your face. I put it on my jawline, my neck, I roll it down. Your skin is just going to appear smoother and tighter before you go in for the kill with the skincare and the makeup. Don't skip the cold therapy. The new ice roller is an upgrade designed to meet the standards of today, and I hope you guys love it as much as I do. This is the beauty tool that started it all, redesigned to evolve with you. I'm showing it on YouTube too, if you're on YouTube, if you're seeing me visually. Get it while it's hot at shopskinnyconfidential.com. That's shopskinnyconfidential.com.
Again, like, I approach it from, I guess, more of like an analytical P&L perspective, and I just hear that amount of concentration from that particular product, and then the difficulty of being able to sustain a business to produce that product. And I just think, it sounds nice, like raise minimum wage and pay everybody more, but like if all of a sudden a massive supply chain gets ripped out from under us and businesses start to go under because they don't have it, it's all connected. That's what I'm saying.
I'm not an expert on all of the different things, but I mean, for sure, like, if people are interested, the International Fresh Produce Association has like all of that information about what the causes are and the different things that the industry is looking to.
Then what do I know? I'm just a podcaster.
Stop.
I know that you and Ivanka in your partnership have also spent a lot of time volunteering in Miami after the fires in Maui in California. What did that look like for you?
Yeah, she's been incredible. I mean, it's unbelievable that she's out there. She's handing the boxes. We've packed boxes. We've done all different things. But part of what our business is emergency relief. And so we have the ability to respond within 2 days to be able to get boxes. And we usually put in 10 to 12 pounds of fresh produce, beans, rice, milk, shelf-stable milk. And so it's amazing. And we buy from where it is. So like with the stuff in Hawaii, we would build the boxes with fresh produce from Hawaii and help the local farmers. We did it. We sent stuff actually during Jamaica. We sent stuff with World Vision. So we partner with different 501c3s to get that product quickly to where it needs to be. And it's, sometimes they don't have anything fresh. We have to be really mindful. We try to be culturally relevant to what we're sending, make sure that the product is something that the neighbors there will want. And then we also are very careful to make sure, like, if there's no electricity, like what happens in Texas, like when things shut down with the ice and, stuff like that, we'll make sure that it's like stuff that can be eaten without cooking, without a big kitchen to make it happen. So we try really hard to be mindful with what we're doing when we do any of this volunteering. And having her out there is just like a shock to some people that drive with their car and then they open their box and Ivanka's there asking them how they are and how things are doing. And, it comes with wraparound services of other diapers that might be available and things of that nature.
I think that's amazing. My last question before you go is, what drives you absolutely nuts that you see on Instagram when it comes to produce? There's got to be things that you see that you're like, no.
It's that idea of like that it's just so easy to get something from the farm, the idyllic farm, to your table, and that it doesn't take, all these people harvesting it, the trucks that drive it there, the sales arm that has to make it happen, the distribution centers, all of those things. And we're against a clock. This isn't toilet paper. From the minute it's cut to the minute it gets to your plate, there's, maybe 7 days, 10 days to get it there. And so it takes a lot to get there, and there should be appreciation, I think, of how we get our food on our plate.
So you just think if you could infuse more appreciation from everyone when it comes to how long it actually takes for us to actually be eating it. It's not like snap your fingers.
I also think that there's the podcast circuits and the people, and we've had some of these people come on the show, and it's fine to talk, but I think there's this idyllic version where like everything is in these local small farmers markets and you go to these small farms and like that's how you should eat and you shouldn't ever shop anywhere else and you got to watch out for this and that. And I think sometimes that in a perfect world, if that actually exists in that way, great. But how does the entire population get access to this kind of food? And is that realistic for everyone? I don't know.
You're so right. And I think that's probably something that bothers me more. I think local is amazing when available, but putting up like a road that like you'll only eat local. I mean, I live in Chicago. You're not getting local all year. You might be able to get some things that are grown in greenhouses, or you might be able to buy something in hydroponics. But outside of that, like we need the supply chain. And if we break this bigger system that is coming from all these different places, you won't be able to have the variety and the things that you want to be able to have the nutrient dense that you need for your bodies.
Yeah, and I think sometimes it's not fair to the farmers because a lot of these farmers are trying to mass produce in order to supply the supply chain that is required.
Yeah.
And there's a little bit of like they're doing it like they shouldn't be doing it that way. But if all of these supply chains start to crumble and go away, or these farmers stop producing, the world is going to be met with a much bigger problem.
Totally. And I think it's about bringing silos together. I think we can have local when available. I think we could support local farmers, but let's think about how do we bring these different things together so we have a holistic, healthy supply chain.
How can everyone support you and Planet Harvest?
We Planet Harvest on Instagram.
Okay.
And if you have any ideas that you have fruits and vegetables in your products, you can reach out to us to be able to look at how can you source, how can we look at your supply chain to get more access into that. And if you do anything for like impact work or any way of getting boxes out there, we would love to talk to you about getting fresh fruits and vegetables into what you do to give to communities.
Amazing. Melissa, thank you so much for coming on the show.
Thank you guys for having me.
Thank you for doing this.